What's up, YouTube? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Come on in. Good morning, good morning. Happy Maya de Cinco to all my Latin brothers and sisters out there. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Back with another live, y'all. Great content, great content. Come on in. Hit that like button, please, if y'all please hit that like button. I got great content for you guys. Great content. Come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. What's up, everybody? Yeah, this is a good one. I'm just kind of kicked back on my live yesterday. You know, I read you guys the Willie Lynch letter, and it pertained to what they use to divide us. And I made a statement that the Willie Lynch letter is being practiced today. It's not as graphic as it was back in slavery time, but it's still being practiced today. You know, they have different ways of applying the Willie Lynch letter. And this video play for you guys is from the late great Malcolm X. Um, I'm going to play two videos. One of them going to be the Malcolm X who was ride or die for the Nation of Islam. You know, they had their own ideology. It was different from the ideology of, like, say, Dr. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was about peace and all that, but Malcolm X was like any means necessary. But I'm get into that. You know, just show the difference. You know how it was and how divided. You know, Sister Willie Lynch letter, how divided our community was, even in the civil rights area. You know, a lot of things went on. But like everything that applied then, applied back in the Willie Lynch around 1712. So, but Malcolm when he left the Nation of Islam, you know, his thoughts and his mentality changed. You know, he discovered and found that, you know, there's a bunch of hypocrites within the Nation of Islam, even by their leader, Elijah Muhammad. So he kind of like questioned, especially once he learned the truth. See, when he learned the truth, that's when people hate him. People didn't like him. Even people in his own nation didn't like him because he started speaking the truth. You know, and you know, people didn't like it. People didn't like it. People hate when the truth hit them. And like I say, they be too comfortable with the lies. They be too comfortable with the lies. So when the truth comes, they don't know how to act. Well, so that's what I'm playing for you guys. So how's everybody? Hope everybody all right. Hope everybody all right. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday, May the 5th. Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo Day. Oh. So how's everybody doing? Like I said, I'm gonna play this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's very educational. You know, very educational. Like I say, man, I'm here to speak truth. You know, let's get this video ready. You know, I speak the truth. So this is the Malcolm X when he was with the Nation of Islam. And this is one of his speeches he gave. It was the house Negro and, you know, versus the field Negro. But he's gonna tell you the difference, and I hope you guys remember, you know, when I had did about the Willie Lynch letter. All this shit ties in together. So let's start with the video.
Young brother here referred to as the house Negro and the field Negro back during slavery. There was two kinds of slaves. There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, they lived in the house with master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food because he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near their master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save their master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, we got a good house here, the house Negro said, yeah, we got a good house here. Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro. If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, what's the matter, boss? We sick. We sick. He identified himself with his master his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house Negro and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate, that house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house Negro. In those days, he was called a house nigger. And that's what we call him today, because we still got some house niggers running around here. This modern house Negro loves his master. He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master. And then brag about, I'm the only Negro out here. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You're nothing but a house Negro. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America? This good white man? When you gonna get a better job than you get here? I mean, this is what you say. I ain't left nothing in Africa. That's what you say, while you left your mind in Africa. On that same plantation, there was the field Negro. The field Negro, those were the masses. There was always more Negroes in the field than there was Negroes in the house. The Negro in the field caught hell. He ate leftovers. In the house, they ate high up on the hog. The Negro in the field didn't get nothing but what was left of the insides of the hog. They call them chitlins nowadays.
That's where black people got eating chitlins from. See, after they deli up the food, ate the food, you know, the master and the house Negroes, after they ate that, because the master ate the good food, and the house Negroes got to eat the food that was left over. But the field Negroes, they just gave them the scraps. They just fed them the scraps. That's where black people start eating chitlins and pig feet and all that shit. Pig ears, you know, because they left us the scrap of the hog. So that's what they left for us to eat. And that's what we got from eating chitlins. People eating chitlins all the time, especially holidays and shit. We got it, you know, that's where we got it from.
In those days, they called them what they were, guts. That's what you were, a gut eater. And some of you are all still gut eaters.
What's up, Terrell?
The field Negro was beaten from morning till night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore cast-off clothes. And he hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house Negro loved his master. But that field Negro, remember, they were in the majority. And they hated his master. When the house caught on fire, he didn't try and put it out. That field Negro prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field Negro prayed that he died. If someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run, he didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here. got field Negroes in America today. I'm a field Negro. The masters are the field Negroes. When they see this man's house on fire, you don't hear these little Negroes talking about our government is in trouble. They say the government is in trouble. Imagine a Negro, our government. I even heard one say our astronauts. They won't even let him near a plant. Our Navy, that's a Negro that's out of his mind. That's a Negro that's out of his mind. Just as the slave master in that day used Tom, the house Negro, to keep the field Negroes in check. The same old slave master today.
All right, T-Rail.
Negroes who are nothing but modern Uncle Toms, 20th century Uncle Toms, to keep you and me in check, keep us under control.
See, that's what they used the house Negro for. They used them to keep the other blacks under control. See, that's what the slave master used the house Negro for. You know, they kind of used the house Negro as like a spy. You know, like how you video I played where they were doing the investigation on different gang members and drug dealers and all that stuff, and how they use the mold to infiltrate, you know, the organization or whatever, and how they use them. They plant someone in the organization to get them information and all that stuff. See, that all goes down back to slavery, where they used to use the house Negro to keep the field Negroes in line. You know, they were so brainwashed, the house Negroes, you know, like he say, if the slave master house burned down, they'll say, our house burning down, and they quickly put out the fire. But the field Negroes, they hated their master. They hated their master so much that they house burned down, they'll wish for a gust of wind to come to burn, you know, to burn it down. See, the different mindsets of the slaves back then, of the house Negro and the field Negro. They had different mindsets, they had different feelings for their slave master. Because their slave master treated the field Negroes badly. They treated them worse than the house Negroes. You know, because the house Negroes went in with anything the slave master said, because the slave master had them living better than the field Negroes. So they basically sold their soul just so they can be in with the slave master. See, and all that is going on today. All that is going on today. Let's continue.
Passive and peaceful and nonviolent. That's Tom making you nonviolent. It's like when you go to the dentist and the man is going to take your tooth. You're going to fight him when he starts pulling. So they squirt some stuff in your jaw called Novocaine to make you think they're not doing anything to you. So you sit there and because you got all that Novocaine in your jaw, you suffer peacefully. Blood running all down your jaw. And you don't know what's happening. Because someone has taught you to suffer peacefully. The white man do the same thing to you in the street. When he don't want to put knots on your head and take advantage of you and don't have to be afraid of you fighting back, to keep you from fighting back, you get these old religious Uncle Toms to teach you and me. They're just like Novocaine, suffer peacefully. Don't stop suffering, just suffer peacefully. As Reverend Cleave pointed out, let your blood flow in the streets. This is a shame. And you know he's a Christian preacher. If it's a shame to him, you know what it is to me. There's nothing in our book, the Quran, as you call it, Quran, teaches us to suffer peacefully. Our religion teaches us to be intelligent, be peaceful, be courteous, obey the law, respect everyone. But if someone puts his hand on you, send him to the cemetery.
See, their ideology was different from the people who was running the Civil Rights March. See, that's where the division was at amongst the Nation of Islam and other black leaders who was part of the Civil Rights Movement. Now, if you remember, Dr. King, he was about nonviolence. See, the Nation of Islam didn't believe in that. See, they believed if you put your hands on me, I'm put my hands on you. If you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. If you unalive one of my people, we gonna unalive one of your people. You know, it's more like an eye for an eye. You know, but you know, the guys and preachers in the civil rights, you know, it was about nonviolence. They said, "The hell with that." You know, they come at me, see, they gonna get the same smoke. Whatever smoke they bring to me, we gonna bring it back. And that was the mentality of the Nation of Islam. So that kind of like brought division within the black community, because you had some people following the Nation of Islam, and you had some black people follow Martin Luther King. So you got to remember, back in the day, you had a lot of black people who didn't like the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like the Nation of Islam. All black people wasn't down for the Nation of Islam. See, you know, a lot of people was more, you know, you had some black people following Dr. King, and you had some black people following the Nation of Islam. And the Nation of Islam was like taboo back in the day. You know, not as popular as it is today. See, it was viewed totally different back there in the 60s, you know, and all that stuff. So they had different views. Let's continue.
That's a good religion. In fact, that's an old-time religion. That's the one that Ma and Pa used to talk about. An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, and a head for a head, and a life for a life. That's a good religion. And then anybody, no one resents that kind of religion being taught but a wolf who intends to make you his meal. This is the way it is with the white man in America. He's a wolf, and you're a sheep. Anytime a shepherd, a pastor, teach you and me not to run from the white man, and at the same time teach us don't fight the white man, he's a traitor to you and me. Don't lay down our life all by itself. No. Preserve the life. It's the best thing you got. And if you got to give it up, let it be even Stephen. The slave master took Tom and dressed him well and fed him well and even gave him a little education, Gave him a long coat and a top hat and made all the other slaves look up to him. Then he used Tom to control them. The same strategy that was used in those days is used today.
See, he just spoke of it. See, they single out a single black person. He called him Tom. I guess it's short for Uncle Tom. But they find a single black person, dress him up, put money in his pocket per se, give him a little education. Don't educate him too much, but give him just enough little education, and uses him to control the field Negroes. To have the field Negroes look up to him. See, now that's just like the movie. If you guys saw Django, where you saw Samuel Jackson character, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. See, they used that what's the name character to control the field Negroes. He overseed the field Negroes. And if any of the field Negroes got out of line, he ran and told his master. See, and that's what they prepared him for. That's what they wanted him to do. So he did their will. See that? That's why I say, people, since that Willie Lynch letter, all that shit is being practiced today. Now, this is back in the 60s when Malcolm X gave this speech. So the Willie Lynch, he brought how they treated slaves to the people of America in 1712. Okay, now this is in I think it's 63. It was before the march on Washington. It was before the march on Washington. So it had to be like 62, 63 when this was filmed. So, and the shit was going on then. So it kept going on. So it's even going on now. It's crazy. Let's listen.
By the same white man. He take a Negro, so-called Negro, and make him prominent. Build him up. Publicize him. Make him a celebrity.
Good morning, Dwayne.
For Negro and a Negro leader. I would like to just mention one thing else quickly.
What's up, Myra?
The method that the white man uses, how the white man uses these big guns or Negro leaders against the Black Revolution. They're not a part of the Black Revolution. They're used against the Black Revolution. When Martin Luther King failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, the civil rights struggle in America reached its low point. King became bankrupt almost as a leader. Plus, even financially, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was in financial trouble, plus it was in trouble, period. With
Martin Luther King, during the civil rights, and when Martin Luther King failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, and by him doing that, he was going back. He was losing a lot of money, because he wasn't getting paid doing what he did. That was like volunteer. That was like volunteer. He was, doing this for the people. So he wasn't really getting paid. So he kind of suffered financially, especially after, he failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia. I'm sorry. So let's continue. We're going to see where this goes.
The people, when they failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, other Negro civil rights leaders of so-called national stature became fallen idols. As they became fallen idols, began to lose their prestige and influence, local Negro leaders began to stir up the masses.
What's up, Shotty?
In Cambridge, Maryland, Gloria Richardson. In Danville, Virginia, and other parts of the country, local leaders began to stir up our people at the grassroots level. This was never done by these Negroes whom you recognize of national stature. They controlled you, but they never incited you or excited you. They controlled you, they contained you. They kept you on the plantation.
At Aveeno Baby, our formula is moisturized to help.
That's commercial, y'all. But yeah, they use to control us. They find ways to control us. They do what they do where we have to depend on them. Then once we have to depend on them, they control us. That's crazy. Let's continue.
As soon as King failed in Birmingham, Negroes took to the streets. King got out and went out to California to a big rally and raised about, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. Come to Detroit and had a march and raised some more thousands of dollars. And recall, right after that, Wilkins attacked King, accused King and the Corps of starting trouble everywhere and then making the NAACP get him out of jail and spend a lot of money, and then he accused King and Corps of raising all the money and not paying it back. This happened. I got it in documented evidence in the newspaper. Royce.
See, like I say, for them to bring down a leader or whatever, they try to ridicule, defame their name. See, that's how they begin to try to get control of you. By doing shit like that. And that's how they did King. But just listen to the rest of the story. You see how all this shit revolved. And you be saying, damn. It's crazy. Check it out.
Started attacking King, and King started attacking Roy, and Farmer started attacking both of them. And as these Negroes of national stature begin to attack each other, they begin to lose their control of the Negro masses. And Negroes was out there in the streets. They was talking about, we're going to march on Washington. By the way, right at that time, Birmingham had exploded, and the Negroes in Birmingham, remember, they also exploded. They began to stab the crackers in the back and bust them upside the head. Yes, they did. That's when Kennedy sent in the troops down in Birmingham. So, and right after that, Kennedy got on the television and said, this is a moral issue. And that's when he said he's going to put out a civil rights bill. And when he...
See, it was a time where blacks was fighting back. You had a lot of blacks that said, fuck that. We ain't accepting this. We're not going to tolerate this. But see, the government saw that. And this when they want to step in. They want to send in the National Guards and all that shit. They want to say, it's a human rights issue. Just like, when they put the drugs in our community, then when they start getting to the white neighborhoods and all that, now all of a sudden it's a drug epidemic. See, that's how they do. That's how they move. Their game never changed. Their game never changed. They still play the same game. And it's still working because we've been so programmed, they know how to push some of our buttons. They know how to divide us because they've been doing it for so long. Like I say, man, there was always a plan. Always a plan. Let's continue.
You mentioned the Civil Rights Bill and the Southern crackers start talking about they were going to boycott it or filibuster. Then the Negroes start talking about what? We're going to march on Washington, march on the Senate, march on the White House, march on the Congress, and tie it up, bring it to a halt. Don't let the government proceed. They even said they were going to go out to the airport and lay down on the runway and don't let no airplanes land.
Now, he's not talking about Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement marching on Washington. At this time, it was like the revolutionary people who planned on marching on Washington first, even before Dr. King thought about doing it. So they was going to do it first. The revolutionaries was going to do it first. As Malcolm X say, he was there. So they was going to do it first, march to the White House, go to the airport, keep the planes from coming in, from landing and all that shit. That was their plan. That's what they was going to do. But let's continue. Let's see how it goes.
I'm telling you what they said. That was revolution. That was revolution. That was the black revolution. It was the grassroots out there in the street. Scared the white man to death. Scared the white power structure in Washington, D.C. to death. I was there. When they found out that this black steamroller was going to come down on the Capitol, they called in Wilkins. They called in Randolph. They called in these national Negro leaders that you respect and told them, call it off. Kennedy said, look, y'all letting this thing go too far. And old Tom said, boss, I can't stop it because I didn't start it. I'm telling you what they said. They said, I'm not even in it, much less at the head of it. They said, these Negroes are doing things on their own.
See, they didn't want to claim the march at first to Washington. Kennedy called in all them black civil rights leaders. And they would say, hey, we ain't got nothing to do with it. That's them. That's them doing that. We ain't got nothing to do with that. No, that's not us. We can't stop it, boss. That's not us doing it.
They're running ahead of us. And that old shrewd fox, he said, well, if you all aren't in it, I'll put you in it. I'll put you at the head of it. I'll endorse it. I'll welcome it. I'll help it. I'll join it. The very American hours went by. They had a meeting at the Carlisle Hotel in New York City. The Carlisle Hotel is owned by the Kennedy family. That's the hotel Kennedy spent the night at 2 nights ago. Belongs to his family. A philanthropic society headed by a white man named Stephen Curry called all the top civil rights leaders together at the Carlisle Hotel and told them that by you all fighting each other, you're destroying the civil rights movement. And since you're fighting over money from white liberals, let us set up what's known as the Council for United Civil Rights Leadership. Let's form this council, and all the civil rights organizations will belong to it. And we'll use it for fundraising purposes. Let me show you how tricky the white man is. And as soon as they got it formed, they elected Whitney Young as the chairman. And who you think became the co-chairman? Stephen Currier, the white man. A millionaire. Howell was talking about it down at the Cobo today. This is what he was talking about. Howell knows it happened. Randolph knows it happened. Wilkins knows it happened. King knows it happened. Every one of that so-called Big Six. They know what happened.
See? They said, no, you're going to have to infiltrate that march on Washington. You know, the only way we can control it, if we put our hands in it, we'll finance you, we'll give you the money. We supply you with the money and stuff, you know. But it was a price for that. They had to conduct it the way the government wanted them to conduct it. But see, the revolutionaries, they didn't like that. Too many powerful black people together. Oh, they don't like that. They don't like that. That's just like back in slavery time. When I showed you that Willie Lynch letter. That's why they asked that guy to come, because they had a lot of rebellious slaves and they didn't know how to control it, and they was losing money. So they needed the guy Willie Lynch to come help them, show them how to control their slaves so they can make their money. Now watch how this coincide. Here, the black revolutionaries, they was gonna shut it down. They was gonna march on Washington. They was gonna go to the airport, you know, keep the planes from landing. They was gonna make them lose money. See the comparisons? So what they do, they get some people who they can control at the time. So they pay them. You know, so y'all gonna take over that march to Washington. It's gonna be you guys' idea. See, and by them paying them, they can control them. So what they do, they form a committee, but they put one of their own within the committee, just to make sure they stay on the right agenda. See, they were scared of the Black Revolution, man. They were scared, man. All them black people together, man, they were scared. So they had to think of something to do, you know, to shut that down. Still let them have a civil rights march, but tone it down per se. Control it.
Once they formed it, with the white man over it, he promised them and gave them $800,000 to split up between the Big Six, and told them that after the march was over, they'd give them $700,000 more. $1.5 million split up between leaders that you've been following, going to jail for, crying crocodile tears for, and it's nothing but Frank James and Jesse James and brothers. Soon as they got the setup organized, the white men made available to them top public relations experts. Opened the news media across the country at their disposal. And then they began to project these Big Six as the leaders of the march. Originally, they weren't even in the march. You was talking this march talk on Hastings Street. Is Hastings Street still here? On Hastings Street. You was talking the march talk on Lenox Avenue. And not on Fillmore Street. And Central Avenue. And 42nd Street and 63rd Street. That's where the march talk was being talked.
See, so the march on Washington has been planned. It's been planned, even before Dr. King even did it. blacks was already getting together to march on Washington. You know, and when they saw all them blacks getting together like that, see, a lot of them blacks had the mindset of Malcolm X. Because, like I told you guys, it was a split in the black community from the Nation of Islam and regular Christian folks. A lot of Christian folks didn't like the Nation of Islam. They felt that they were bad people. So it was a split right there in our community. See, everybody, you know, a lot of black people like the ideology of Dr. Martin Luther King. But you had some that like Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam. So that was a split. It was a split. So let's continue.
But the white man put the big six ahead of them, made them the march. They became the march. They took it over. And the first move they made after they took it over, they invited Walter Reuther, a white man. They invited a priest, a rabbi, and an old white preacher. Yes, an old white preacher. The same white element that put Kennedy in power. Labor, the Catholics, the Jews, and liberal Protestants. Same clique that put Kennedy in power joined the March on Washington. It's just like when you got some coffee that's too black, which means it's too strong. What you do? You integrate it with cream.
Facts.
You make it weak. If you pour too much cream in, you won't even know you ever had coffee. It used to be hot, it becomes cool. It used to be strong, it becomes weak. It used to wake you up, now it'll put you to sleep.
I think that's a good example. I think that's a good example. If you have coffee and it's black, it's strong as hell. Coffee's strong. But for some people to weaken it down or weaken the strength of the coffee, they add cream. Some people add cream to make it taste better. You know, but it's still, the more cream you add to the coffee, it makes it weaker. So in other words, black people together are strong. They're strong. But once we want to intergrind with the oppressor, it becomes weak. You become weak. You don't want to do anything for yourself. You want a person to do things for you. You know, you see here, all it takes is giving them money, and they'll do whatever they want them to do.
This is what they did with the March on Washington. They joined it. They didn't integrate it, they infiltrated it. They joined it, became a part of it, took it over. And as they took it over, it lost its militancy. They ceased to be angry. They ceased to be hot. They ceased to be uncompromising. Why, it even ceased to be a march. It became a picnic, a circus. Nothing but a circus with clowns and all. You had one right here in Detroit. I saw it on television with clowns leading it, white clowns and black clowns. I know you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because I can prove what I'm saying. If you think I'm telling you wrong, you bring me Martin Luther King and A. Philip Randolph and James Farmer and those other three, and see if they'll deny it over the microphone. No, it was a sellout. It was a takeover. When James Baldwin came in from Paris, they wouldn't let him talk because they couldn't make him go by the script. Burt Lancaster wrote the speech that Baldwin was supposed to make. They wouldn't let Baldwin get up there because they know Baldwin's not going to say anything. They controlled it so tight, they told those Negroes what time to hit town, how to come, where to stop, what sign to carry, what song to sing, what speech they could make and what speech they couldn't make, and then told them to get out of town by sundown. And every one of those towns were out of town by sundown. Now I know you don't like my saying this, but I can back it up. It was a circus, a performance. It beat anything Hollywood could ever do. The performance of the year. Luther and those other three devils should get a Academy Award for the best actors because they acted like they really love Negroes and fooled a whole lot of Negroes. And the 6 Negro leaders should get an award too for the best supporting cast.
Don't they do that today? They act like they love you, like they, support you. We, we support you. That's a facade. Because as soon as you do something against them, you ostracize. See, that's how they do to trap you, man. And shit haven't changed. It's still going on today. That's why I don't see why black people don't catch on, because they do the same thing all the time. They do the same thing all the time. But I guess when the seed been planted a long time ago, and as the plant grows, it's kind of hard to break it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But, there's always a hope. There's always a hope, but it's a hard task just to get people to wake up, to understand. But, we'll see. This will continue. I think that's the end of that one. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what they do, man. They infiltrate it. And that's how they control us. That's how they control us. Now, this next one, this is going to be Malcolm X. This is after he had went to Mecca and he discovered, he realized a lot of things. His eyes was open. He saw the hypocrisy that was in the Nation of Islam. Once he learned the truth, once he studied the truth, his eyes was open. And he saw a lot of things that wasn't right in the Nation of Islam. And he called it out. And by him calling it out, he made enemies. because they kicked him out the Nation of Islam. You know, he no longer could be a spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. So he went around doing speeches himself. And you can hear in his tone, you know, the way he speaks, his mindset had changed from the tape I played you earlier. Now let's see the difference. See if you see the difference.
To know that my house was bombed. It was bombed by the Black Muslim movement upon the orders of Elijah Muhammad. Now they had come around, but they had planned to do it from the front and the back so that I couldn't get out. They covered the front completely, the front door. Then they had come to the back, but instead of getting directly in the back of the house and throwing it this way, they stood at a 45-degree angle and tossed it at the window so it glanced and went onto the ground. And the fire hit the window, and it woke up my second oldest baby. But the fire burned on the outside of the house. But had that one gone through that window, it would have fallen on a 6-year-old girl, a 4-year-old girl, and a 2-year-old girl. And I'm going to tell you, if it had done it, I'd taken my rifle and gone after anybody in sight. I would not wait. And I said it because of this. The police know the criminal operation of the Black Muslim movement because they have thoroughly infiltrated it. The only thing that I regret in all of this is that two black groups have to fight and kill each other off. Elijah Muhammad could stop the whole thing tomorrow just by raising his hand. Really, he could. He could stop the whole thing by raising his hand. But he won't. He doesn't love black people. He doesn't even love his own followers. Through which they're killing each other. They killed one in the Bronx. They shot another one in the Bronx. They tried to get 6 of us Sunday morning. And the pattern has developed across the country. The man has gone insane. Absolutely out of his mind. Besides, you can't be 70 years old and surround yourself by a handful of 16, 17, 18-year-old girls and keep your right mind. You can't do it. Muslims find that
Now, if you don't know, he was accused, well, they say it's true, that he was having kids with young girls within the Muslim community. People that follow Muslim, he had sex with young girls and they buried kids. So, you know, his eyes open. Just listen to him.
That's what I said. The Muslims claim I bombed my house. Yeah. No, well, you can take what you want. The Austin squad, the fire marshal, all of them are experts in this kind of thing. And if anybody can find where I bombed my house, they can put a rifle bullet through my head. It was my children and my own life and my wife's life that was at stake. In fact, let me tell you something, sir. I stood Sunday morning to make myself an authentic Muslim and to bring them there up to date on the problems that our people who are Muslims have. As soon as we established our religious authenticity with the Muslim world, we set up the Organization of Afro-American Unity and took immediate steps to make certain that we would be in direct contact with our African brothers on the African continent. So the first step that has been taken, brothers and sisters, since Gandhi died, to actually establish contact between the 22 million Black Americans with our brothers and sisters back home was done by two organizations. Done first by the Muslim Mosque, which gave us direct ties with our brothers and sisters in Asia and Africa who are Muslims. And you know we've got to unite with them because there are 700 million Muslims. And we sure need to stop being the minority and become part of the majority. So, as Muslims, we united with our Muslim brothers in Asia and Africa And as members of the Organization of African or Afro-American Unity, we set out on a program to unite our people on this continent with our people on the mother continent. And this frightened many powers, many interests in this country. Many people in this country who want to see us the minority and who don't want to see us taking too militant or too uncompromising a stand are absolutely against the successful regrouping or organizing of any faction in this country whose thought and whose thinking pattern is international rather than national, whose thought pattern, whose hopes and aspirations are worldly rather than just within the context of the United States border or the borderline of the United States. So this has been the purpose of the OAAU and also the Muslim mosques, to give us direct links, direct contacts, direct communication and cooperation with our brothers and sisters all over the earth. And once we are successful in uniting ourselves with our people all over the world, it puts us in a position where we no longer are a minority who can be abused and walked upon. We become a part of the majority. And then if this man over here plays too rough, we got some brothers who can play as rough as he.
See, that's why they unalived that man. That's why they unalived that man. See, like I say, when he went over there to Mecca, he learned a lot of things. His eyes open, man. His eyes open. See, he probably learned a lot of information that I learned. He probably learned more because he went over there. But you have to think back then, a lot of information that is available now wasn't available back then. It wasn't easy accessible back then. So when he studied and learned, when he left outside the United States with the Mecca, he learned the true history. And see, I'm going to get into it, but back in the early days, Africans, well, Marcus Garvey was trying to form a coalition. It was a group of Asians, black people, black people in Europe. Because he wanted to take everybody to back to the motherland, back to Africa. It was all forming. But somehow, the oppressors seemed how broke that shit up. Because see, back then, we never had no problem with Asia. Not black people. We was going to form a nation to get back to Africa with Asia back then. So we never had no problems. See, sometimes you got to think, maybe sometimes the government problem is not really our problem. Because we don't be suffering before they go to war. Things be good. Then when they go to war, that's when prices rise and all this shit. Gas prices go up. We not benefiting here in the United States by them going to war. It's something to think about, man. Let's continue.
So that's all I have to say about that. And when the bomb was thrown, one of the bombs was thrown at the rear window of my house where my 3 little baby girls sleep. And I have no compassion or mercy or forgiveness or anything of that sort for anyone who attacks children. If you attack me, that's one thing. I know what to do when you start attacking me. But when you attack sleeping babies while you are lower than a gut.
Oh yeah, this was where they made an attempt on his life. They tried to burn down his house while him and his family was in the house. So that's what he's talking about. This was after he had came back and they kicked him out the Nation of Islam and all that. So it was after that. So, you know, he was beginning to be too powerful. So guess who joined forces, allegedly? The government and the Nation of Islam. They had to get rid of this man. This man was too powerful. And he spoke too much truth. And what do they do to tame a strong black man or a strong black slave? What they do? Shit never changed. All this was planned, man. Let's continue.
So from tonight on, there'll be a hot time in the old town. With regret, with great regret. There's no organization in this country that could do more for the struggling black man than the Black Muslim movement if it wanted to. But it has gotten into the possession of a man who's become senile in his old age and perhaps doesn't realize it. And then he has surrounded himself by his children who are now in power and want nothing but luxury and security and comfort and will do anything to safeguard their own interests. So I feel responsible for having played a major role in developing a criminal organization. If it was not a criminal organization at the outstart, it was an organization that had the power, the spiritual power, to reform the criminals. And this is what you have to understand. As long as that strong spiritual power was in the movement, it gave the moral strength to the believer that would enable him to rise above all his negative tendencies. I know, because I went into the movement with more negative tendencies for the betterment of the community by any means necessary. And since tonight we had to get into this old nasty negative subject, we didn't want to bring. You mentioned conspiracy between black Muslims and the white man.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I mentioned the conspiracy between the Muslims and the right wing in this country. I know for a fact that there is a conspiracy between the Muslims and the Lincoln Rockwell Nazi and also the Ku Klux Klan. There is a conspiracy. Describe this conspiracy. Well, the Ku Klux Klan made a deal, or were trying to make.
Now I want y'all to listen to this. This part right here is wild. It's wild. See, like I say, once he learned the truth, he saw a lot of things. You know, because when Malcolm X was the leader, not the leader, but he was the spokesman for the Nation of Islam, he elevated it. He elevated. He made them more popular than anything. Everybody loved Malcolm X. You can tell by the way he speaks, his speeches. So they made him like the head spokesman of the Nation of Islam. And he helped build the Nation of Islam. But like I said, as he started learning the truth, and things started changing, especially after Elijah Muhammad kids started getting older. They was more interested in luxury. It wasn't about the people anymore. When Malcolm X did it, was the head spokesman. It was about the people. It was about freeing the people. But as times went on, as the Nation of Islam started building with the help of Malcolm X, evil got infiltrated within the nation. And that's what he's about to explain now.
And deal with Elijah Muhammad in 1960 in the home of Jeremiah X, the minister in Atlanta at that time, who was president as a minister in Philadelphia. They were trying to make a deal with him to make available to Elijah Muhammad a county, a size tract of land in Georgia or South Carolina, where Elijah Muhammad could then induce Negroes to
What's up, Lonnie?
And make it appear that his program of a segregated state or separated state was feasible. And to what extent these negotiations finally developed, I do not know, because I was not involved in them beyond the period of December 1960. But I do know that after that, Jeremiah, who was the minister throughout the South, who roamed the entire South, and the Klan not bother him in any way, shape, or form, nor would they bother any of the black Muslims from then on, nor would the black Muslims bother the Klan. Are you inferring that because of this conspiracy, the attempt was made upon your life? The attempt has been made upon my life. Are you inferring that because of this conspiracy, the attempt was made on your life? Not necessarily that conspiracy. The attempt was made upon my life because I speak my mind and I know too much, and they know that I was thinking whether they liked it or not.
He said, no. They tempted on my life because I know too much. I speak my mind. Danger, danger, danger. They don't like that. Not for no black man. They don't like that.
Am I urging my followers to take action against the Muslims? No. No. Am I going to try and infiltrate their organization and win over some of their supporters? No, I have never tried to win supporters from Elijah Muhammad. Since I have left the Black Muslim movement, I've spoken at these rallies. Those who come, come. Those who don't. But I've never gone out of my way to win over any of his followers. And he himself is fearful because he knows that you don't have to exercise too much energy to win his followers. As soon as they know truth and compare the two. By the way, this is the brother. This is Leon Almir, who was Cassius Clay's secretary, whom they beat unmercifully up in Boston. And the court freed the men who beat him. They fined him $100 worth. Fined him $100, and he was on the inside of the Black Muslim specialty squad. And I know it. And it was he who heard Elijah Muhammad Jr. come to New York when Elijah Muhammad was at the Armory in June of last year. Jr. stood up and told the truth, many of whom are here now also, that I should have been killed, that my tomb should have been put in an envelope and sent back to Chicago by now. And because Fat Joseph had not done it, they demoted him. He remained captain, but Clarence up in Boston was put over Joseph. And Joseph's authority was curtailed. And then Clarence, the captain from Boston, and John, the captain from Springfield, came to New York to assassinate me and came to him to get a silencer and couldn't get it. So the police know this. It's not something that's new. They just wait until the job is done and then they step in.
See, see, see. In my opinion, I think Malcolm X knew that it was any day because they kept attempting to take him out. Once he started, it's crazy. But when your eyes open and you speak your mind, you speak the truth, seems like you get more hate than anything. It seems, excuse me, seems like you get more hate than anything. Like people can accept the truth. That's what it seems like. People are comfortable with them lies, man. They're comfortable with the lies. The truth come hit them in the head. Oh shit. You don't want to hear that.
Yes, now, Elijah Muhammad called all of his officials, national officials, to Chicago in October and ordered them to kill or maim any of his followers who leave him to follow me. Well, when you say, how do I know? Many of the brothers who were in at that time are out now. And if this ever comes into the court, there are plenty of witnesses who can stand up and testify to it. Pardon? Pardon. I'd rather not say it this time. Let me say you know too much. What do you mean? Who's the next one? Give him 2 more minutes. Give him 2 more minutes and we'll end it. And we'll control it, you said, including the politics. Yes. Yes. When I said that no one can clean up our home but us, and that we will clean it up, including and no one should control it but us, including the politics. What do I mean? I mean exactly that. That the black people. Well, you're thinking of who? Powell? Powell's one of us. No, he's not a member of our organization, but when I say he's one of us, I mean he's one of the family. And no one outside the family can get us to talk about him. If we talk about him, we talk about him within the family. But nobody outside the family can instigate us against power. Yes, by controlling it politically, I mean that the politics of the community of Harlem should be controlled by those of us who live in Harlem, not by somebody sitting down in Gracie Mansion. Sir? No. But the Organization of Afro-American Unity intends to get involved in every kind of action that's going on in New York City. We don't intend to let anybody downtown influence us in any way, shape, or form. We want the influence to come from Harlem and from other Harlems around the country. Now, this doesn't mean we're anti-outside of Harlem. This doesn't mean we're anti-Bronx or anti-White Plains or anti-white or anti-German or anything like that. But it means we're pro-Harlem. We're pro-ourselves. We want to start doing something for ourselves. That's all it means. It means that we want to stop begging you for your school. We want you to get out of the way and let us straighten out the schools in Harlem.
And that's what I always say. That was one of used to be one of my solutions of how bringing back the cleaning up the community and all that stuff. We have to clean up at home. We got to clean up our own house. We got to clean up our own house because the a normal black person though we're gonna have to deal. I'm just gonna use this phrase with the white man for something. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. While we here in the United States on this earth, we're gonna have to deal with the white man. But we still can have our own. We still can build within. That's why I say we use that race shit as a crutch. We use it as a crutch so much, other nationalities coming in our neighborhood setting up stores. Because we thinking we can't do that. And you think about back then, there was a lot of black stores, black owners, grocery stores. It was a lot. We had some in my neighborhood. So it's not like you can't.
Yes, sir. I just answered it when I said from tonight on there'll be a hot time in the whole town. I answered it when this gentleman over here asked. It's a song we used to sing. An implication, an implied threat. I never imply any threats to anyone. I'm a Muslim. My religion is Islam. It's a religion of peace. And sir, yes, I do believe there'll be further attempts on my life. I know them. They're foaming at the mouth. The rank and file Muslim means well. It's those at the hierarchy who are living off the fatted cat who don't mean well. And this coming Sunday at 2 o'clock, as I say, our program will be unfolded. Elijah Muhammad knows he has done some good things and he has done some bad things. He knows that if he had wanted to, he could have united our people with the Muslim world just by teaching the right religion of Islam. He could have done so. The entire Muslim world would have accepted him. As it is now, the Muslim world has rejected.
That was a key part he had just said. Let me hear that again. I gotta hear that again. I gotta hear that part again.
The hierarchy who are living off the fatted cat who don't mean well. And this coming Sunday at 2 o'clock, as I say, our program will be unfolded. Elijah Muhammad knows he has done some good things and he has done some bad things. He knows that if he had wanted to, he could have united our people with the Muslim world just by teaching the right religion of Islam. He could have done so. The entire Muslim world would have accepted.
If he would have kept teaching the right religion, see, that's like some of these pastors. Some of these pastors, they can preach religion, but they don't practice the true religion. That's why a lot of people don't trust pastors. A lot of people don't go to church. Because they don't teach the right religion. So they don't follow what they're teaching. That's why sometimes you can call them false prophets. They don't practice what they preach. You know, like we learned Elijah Muhammad having kids with young girls, different young girls. He wasn't preaching the right religion. He wasn't doing what was in that book, the Holy Quran. See, Malcolm X's eyes was wide open. He saw all this. Because like I say, Malcolm X is the one who built the Nation of Islam. And they knew that man was powerful. Because you heard Elijah Muhammad would unalive anybody who left the Nation of Islam and followed him. So if you left the Nation of Islam, you had to be sneaky if you went to follow Malcolm X. See, people dislike you when you're, I don't know why. See, when your eyes open, you're a threat. When you see the bullshit, you're a threat. Because you see the bullshit and lies that's going on. See, if your eyes not open, you don't see nothing. You don't see a damn thing because your eyes is closed. But when your eyes is open, you see everything. You can point out the bullshit. You can point out when somebody lying because your eyes is open. They're not closed no more. And that's the case with Malcolm X. His eyes was open. Well, his eyes always been open when he was with the Nation of Islam. His thing of it was, and the thing that he hated was that he helped build that. He helped build the Nation of Islam because Nation of Islam was a small organization. But when he came along, it built. You know, it got bigger and stronger. You know, they had a base, a Nation of Islam base here in Chicago. Because Muhammad Ali used to live in Chicago. So Malcolm X helped build the Nation of Islam. Then when he awakened, he saw a lot of the corruption. Then when he spoke of it, he became a threat.
Accepted him. As it is now, the Muslim world has rejected him. He can never go into the Muslim world saying that he's a prophet or that Allah came over here in the flesh. They would cut his head off if he said that over there. And he knows this. None of his followers can go over there without denouncing him. It's impossible for them to go to Mecca or any other place unless they ascribe to Islam as it is ascribed to over there. So he was in a position to unite us with the Muslim world, those of us who are Muslims. He was also in a position to unite us with Africa. But you cannot read anything that Elijah Muhammad has ever written that's pro-African. I defy you to find one word in his direct writing that's pro-African. You can find it.
See, he said Elijah Muhammad had the power to do what he did if he wanted to. If he wanted to, he could have connected with Muslims all around the world if he wanted to. But his mind wasn't on that. His mind wasn't on that. You know, he wasn't preaching the truth of Islam, of the Muslims. He was using it. Just like you have some of these preachers. He was using religion. You know, he was more interested in the money and the power. Because with Malcolm X, like I say, he built the Nation of Islam. So that gave Elijah, because every time he spoke of Elijah Muhammad. He mentioned Elijah Muhammad. So as it grew, Elijah Muhammad got more powerful. So did Malcolm X.
Listen to this question this man asked me. What are you trying to get at? No, he asked me, look, now I got to tell him what you asked me. He asked me, don't I think if I got hurt, you know, wouldn't some of my followers retaliate? What are you trying to say? Or what are you trying to get me to say? I mean, it's okay. I'm not going to get you in any trouble. These are your friends in here. But I just want them to hear what you're asking me. That's all. I just want them to hear what you're asking me. You wouldn't get no trouble in here, would he? No. Yes, sir. Last question. I'm under a civil court order to get out of my house in Queens. You know, I only heard, somebody told me that they heard that on the radio. I know nothing about it. And I haven't discussed it with a lawyer yet, and I won't make any comments until I discuss it with a lawyer. But I just hope that nobody tries to go in there while what's left of my belongings are there. Sir? Some have been in the vicinity, yes, and some policemen, too, have been nice enough to watch the house ever since it was bombed. I wish they had been watching it while it was bombed. Yeah, a great deal of my personal belongings were lost. There's still 4 bombs in there. I might point this out, that these who did it were so vicious, and those who did it knew the whole layout of the house. They, and to show you why I believe in Allah, the bombs that were thrown into the front part of the house were thrown directly against the window, you know, so they came through. But before they threw the first one, the neighbor saw someone go up to the window with a mop-like instrument and break the window, crack the glass. And then they threw the bombs in after the glass was broken. And that was in the front part. That the city police don't know about. Because they have policemen in there. They don't let black people form anything without some policemen in there. And while I was in the Black Muslim movement, or the Black Muslim movement, many of the police who were sent to infiltrate us, they're black, would tell me, say, look, I'm a cop, but I have to come. They would tell me. I knew the Muslim movement was full of police. So don't you think anything is going down that they don't know about? The only thing that goes down is what they want to go down. And what they don't want to go down, they don't let it go down. One last question, yes, sir. You know what what temperature was? It was about 15 or 20. I stood in my underwear, bare feet, in the middle of my driveway with a gun in my hand for 45 minutes, waiting for the police or waiting for the fire department to come. If I want to put on a show, I can find a better way than that to put it on.
Yeah. Yeah, he does in the interviews, man. He's talking about, you know, they asked him a question about when they tried to bomb his house, and, you know, white people is a trip. There's a trip, man. Somebody tried to, they talking about you tried to put on the show because he had, after they tried to bomb his house, he ran outside. He didn't have no clothes because he was in the bed. He had his shotgun. He was looking to see who, catch the people who did it. Then he was outside waiting on the police. The police took a long time to come. So he just stood out there with his shotgun, just in case the people probably tried to come back. So people gonna say, were you trying to put on the show? Hell no. But yeah, people, it's a trip, man. That just shows you, man. This if you powerful, man, they don't like that. They don't like a black man, a strong black man. They don't like a true black man. Because a strong black man is a threat. It's a threat to them. It's a threat to them. So, and that's what the thing was. They knew Malcolm X can unite the black community. What's up, Calvin? Good morning, my brother. Yep. And see, while he was in the Nation of Islam, he was no, JJ, I'm not up preaching racist confrontation. I'm just piggybacking off the when I had talked about that Willie Lynch letter, and I was just piggybacking off of that, showing how the things that Willie Lynch was teaching the slave owners back then, how to control their slaves, on how that's still being practiced. Yeah. See, Malcolm X, when he started, when the Nation of Islam, and when he joined the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X became their spokesman. Malcolm X built the Nation of Islam. It grew because Malcolm X became very popular. As the Nation of Islam grew, Malcolm, he was preaching what he was preaching. Then Malcolm X started seeing a lot of things going on as the Nation of Islam grew. See, what he found out what Elijah Muhammad was preaching, he wasn't practicing what he preached. He was doing a lot of evil things behind the scene. So when Malcolm X saw that, and he spoke his mind. And that's when they kind of kicked him out the Nation of Islam. Then when he went to Mecca, he started learning truth. His eyes was open. His eyes was open to the truth, and he saw a lot of lies that was going on, a lot of deceit that was going on within the Nation of Islam. And like he said, he apologized because he fought himself because he helped build that. He helped build that because they built the Nation of Islam off of Malcolm X back. Basically. So he knew that he kind of was at fault. And he owned to that. He owned to that. He made himself accountable for that. Because it wasn't for him, maybe it never would happen. Because he found out Elijah, like I say, he found Elijah Muhammad was a false prophet because he didn't practice what he preached. He did evil things. No, that's really against a leader or a person of God, of Allah, or whatever you want to call him. It's like you see false preachers. However it was, Shotty, they had something to do with it. Whoever it was, Shotty, they had something to do with it. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, JJ. Exactly. Exactly, JJ. When he went to Mecca, he learned. Because see, JJ, like I said earlier, back then, information like this wasn't available to us. They kept us in the dark with important information like this. We had to really research or maybe do what he did, travel to the, foreign places to learn. And black folks didn't have money to do that shit, so we were still blind. So when he traveled to Mecca, he learned. It opened his eyes. He saw all the hypocrisy that was going on in the Nation of Islam. He's opened his eyes because maybe before it was happening then, but he probably just overlooked it. Or he was so busy out doing his speeches, he didn't notice it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because Shadi, you kind of half right. The FBI did have something to do with it. They all was tied together. It was all tied together. It was all tied together. It was all tied together. Yeah, keep trying. Yeah, keep calling me. I know she on her lunch, but I'm on the live now, so I'll catch her later. Well, Shadi, it really don't matter who did it, but the Nation of Islam still has something to do with it. It don't matter. Yeah, it don't matter. The Nation of Islam still wanted him on the live. So they had to plant it together. So it don't matter who used the live ammunition or who used the blanks. It don't matter. It don't matter. They still had a plan, both of them, Nation of Islam and the FBI. Because the FBI did the surveillance. And like they say, actually, members of the Nation of Islam, the one who pulled the trigger. That's just a myth. What you said, Shadi. That's just a myth. That's just things they threw out there. But nah. No. Now, see, that's what Malcolm X said. JJ, he said that Elijah had the power to do what he did. He could have reached all the other Muslims around the world. He could have did what he did. Because you heard that he said that he reached out to the Muslims in Africa, the Muslims in Asia. They was forming a coalition. He said Elijah Muhammad could have did that. He said Elijah Muhammad could have did more for the black community. That's what Malcolm X said. I just played it. But he didn't. You know, just like everything, it started off good. He had a good vision. He had a great vision. Elijah Muhammad. He had a great vision. Can't knock him from that. But he fell into the road of temptation. You know, he's human. He's a man. He's human. He led the people wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong with telling the truth. But that don't really necessarily take away from his legacy, because what he started was great. Sometimes money just brings the worst out of people. Money brings the worst out of people. You know, so it's crazy how, sometimes, when your eyes open and you speak the truth, you speak your mind, more people hate you. More people hate you. Now, if you go along with the bullshit all the time, never speak your mind, people love you. But you speak true life shit, people hate you. Like I say, people, it's how it was planned. See, everything I show y'all, I'm gonna show y'all how everything that's happening now, how it was set up for us to be that way. That's why I say people need to learn their history. Because if you learn your history, you will learn that you was programmed to do what the fuck you doing right now. The bullshit that you're doing right now. You being played. But see, they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that. You're falling right into their trap. Like I said in my last video yesterday, they want you to stay a fool. They want you to be like Bozo. They want you to be a clown. They want your eyes to stay closed. Because then they can control you. See, I just find sometimes we worry about the wrong things. We worry about the wrong things. Because we worry about, like I say, the main crutch we use is racism. Or we bring up race. It's always an uproar when a white police officer unalive a young black man. But there's never a big uproar when a young black teenager unalive another black teenager. Where's the uproar? It's more black on black crime than it is police officers unaliving black citizens. Why don't we see anybody marching for that? Why don't we see news cameras covering marches like that? There's always got to be when a white officer unalive a black citizen, a black man or whatever. That's the only time we see big parades or big marches on the news. We don't see many people fighting for that. We don't see news coverage of people that might be fighting for that. And we have more black teenagers and black men losing their lives from the hands of someone who looks like them. Why don't the nation want to stop that? Why don't the government want to stop that? Why they don't want to shine a light on that to maybe stop it like they want to do white officer unaliving black men or black people? Where's the big news coverage? Where's the worldwide news coverage? Where's the protests? Yes, sir. Shadi, that's what I'm pointing out, man. See, because like Shadi say, that goes to the house Negro and the field Negro. See, we have some of our people in power, but they ain't going to fight for, what needs to be done in our community because they want to stay in cahoots with our oppressor. Because they getting paid. They don't want to lose that bag. So they ain't gonna speak their mind. You see that in sports. The NBA players, football players, they can't speak their mind or they'll get punished. We saw that with Colin Kaepernick. You see how that works? That's a prime example. That's a prime current example. What's company policy? What's company policy? Now, if you say he could have, if you say he could have did it on a different way, I can agree with you on that. I can agree with you on that. I probably wouldn't have did it on the football field. I probably wouldn't have did it on the football field. I probably would have said something like in the news conference or something like that. I probably would have did it like that. So I probably would have did it differently. I probably would have did it differently. So I kind of agree with you on that. But his cause wasn't a bad cause. But I agree with you. I would have did it differently. I wouldn't have did it on the football. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't have been playing football. I wouldn't have been thinking about it. Because I would have kept my mind on the game. See, when you do something like that, you planning to win to do it. So your mind is not totally on the game. So I wouldn't have did it on the football field. Yeah, that's why I said probably like the press conference or, by him being a star quarterback, he can call the press conference. Yeah. But, a lot of people sell out for it, man. They swallow their pride. They swallow their pride. You got a lot of that shit going on today, Shotty. You pay them motherfuckers money, man. They won't speak their mind. Sure, whatever you say, I say. What you want me to say? No, I won't say that. What's going on today, man? That's how it is. People sell their soul for money, man. We see that every day, man. That ain't really nothing new. That's really ain't nothing new. Yeah. So man, like I say, Shadi, I think a lot of us, we really need to learn history. Just to open our eyes, man. We'll get a lot of understanding of what's going on around us in real life. You know what I'm saying? As long as you have a better understanding of what's going on, you'll understand more of what's happening. See, a lot of young people hasn't learned the resistance that Black people had. Because by the time you guys was born, shit, it was a point you would have known it was racism. So y'all didn't get to live through the time where you couldn't go certain places and, and all that shit. So a lot of young people haven't been through that. Okay. But JJ, like I say, I knew it was somebody from the Nation of Islam who did it. That was Shadi who said that they had blanks. I just told him that was a myth. That was a myth. But people who know the truth know it was people from the Nation of Islam. But the FBI did have something to do with it because they did surveillance and all that shit. So the FBI did have something to do with it. They both was in cahoots. Because ever how you spend it, it all gonna come back to they both was working together. No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. You got different versions. That might be true, but I'm just saying. That was the theory people was throwing out. But anywhere it go, the FBI has something to do with it. That's all I'm saying, Shotty. It don't matter who had the live ammunition, who had the dud. They both had something to do with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because, they say when Martin Luther King really didn't get unalived at the hotel. It was really, he was in the hospital. They unalived him there. So, hey. Hey, man. But like I say, man, hey. But I was just, like I said, there's a lot of theories out there. At first he was, JJ. But you know what got him? Because, see, if Martin Luther King, okay, if you heard my tape earlier when Malcolm X was talking about it was like black revolutionaries going to do the march on Washington first before the civil rights people, Martin Luther King them was going to do it. But see, the Kennedy and them, that they was too powerful because they were going to shut everything down. They was going to shut down the airport, march on Washington. They were going to make them lose money. So Kennedy and them was nervous of that. They were scared. So they had called in 6 Negro leaders, civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King was included, and brought them in. So they was telling them, hey, because they asked them, are you guys part of that? And they said, no, we're not part of that march. Well, that's what they say. I don't know. That's what they say. I don't know. So that's when they brought Martin Luther King them in, and they paid them. They paid them $800,000 first. Then once they organized or whatever the margin was, they gave them extra $700,000. So they gave them $1.5 million to split among 6 of them. Then they made the organization, so they infiltrated a white man in their organization. They put the white man in their organization, so they made sure that the march was not really violent, but more like a circus, as Malcolm X called it. See, and Martin Luther King was part of that. So they did use him as a plant. That's correct. They did use them as a plaque. But I'm gonna tell you though, Martin Luther King went through the same thing as Malcolm X. I'm gonna I'm do a live about it where Martin Luther King woke up. You know, through what the bullshit was happening, how he was being used and all that stuff. He wasn't fighting for the right thing. You know? That's when he made that speech in Memphis. And his speech was more of what was needed in the black community. He wasn't speaking to all that "I have a dream," that implant shit. He wasn't speaking that no more. He started speaking of what was going on. Yeah, that's why I say, Shotty, it's repetitious, man. It's repetitious, man. They get that one black person to so-called control all the other black people. To have them look up to that person. Hey, that's happening today. Who everybody look up to? Diddy, Jay-Z. We look up to celebrities. Some people look up to celebrities more than they look up to their own parents. Some people look up like celebrities more than they like God, or love celebrities more than they love God. That shit was all planned, man. That's what I say, Shadi. All this shit was planned, man. All they do the same thing over and over, and we fall for it over and over again. It's like we just don't want to wake up. That's the plan, Shotty. Well, me personally, I don't fall for it. I did before, but my eyes was closed. Once I learned, I don't fall for it. That's why I'm on YouTube trying to preach what I learned. Yeah, growing up, who didn't, JJ? Who did? Who do you know had who went through life and never made a mistake? Show me that person. Now, I'm not talking about a mistake where they're probably in you in jail or something like that, but you made some type of life decision mistake. You made some type of mistake before. You know, there's different levels, man, where you can make a mistake based on your profile picture. You're dressing all red, so I'm assuming. No, I just had on a red outfit. I just had on a red outfit. I'm not representing nothing. Actually, I was at a friend of mine's repast. a friend of mine who passed away. I was at his repast, so all of us was just hanging out. You know, we was at his mom house. We was just hanging out. No, I don't. No, I wasn't riding. You know, no, I just had on red outfit. That's all. I just joke with it, you know. But no, I just had on the red outfit. If that was the case, everybody else would have had on red. Well, Shotty, I see the thing. See, Shotty, see that's what I used to hate, Shotty. Just because I lived in the neighborhood and the people I knew, I always got affiliated with it. I always got affiliated with it, even though they known I played sports. You know, it's a trip, man. But no, I just had on the red. That was taken. I think my boy died in 2018. Yeah, that was 2018 right there. That was 2018 when I took that picture. You say you have red rims on blood. I feel you, Shotty. But a lot of my brothers, a lot of guys I know, man, they was P stones, and I grew up with them. You know, my thing was more of a like the Black Panthers. I followed them more. I wasn't really, I was more of Black Panther. I was more of a black conscious type person. And things I see. But see, you gotta understand, I grew up around them. You know, I grew up around them. See, I have cousins that's opposite gang, disciples. So I've been around both gangs. See, even around my cousin them around his house, they knew where I lived. But we used to joke about it. Oh, you live in Hooktown. But we was all cool. We was all friends. I never was the type to lie that you were part of a gang. You said things to lie. I never said I was part of the gang culture. I just said I got affiliated with the people I knew. People thought I was in the gang for the people I knew. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, Baker. I never, no. No, I probably was talking about or doing a commentary on gang culture. I was just showing people how, the gang culture is in Chicago, the different gangs. I did, the Vice Lord, I did the Peace Stone, I did the Latin Kings. What's up, Eric? I did different gangs. And by you living in a big city, you got to know the different cultures. You got to know where to go. You got to know what's going on. I said something about being El Rookin. When? When? When I say I was part of El Rookin? What's up, Mike Russ? When I said being part of El Rookin? Well, I never said I was part of El Rookin. I just knew people that's in my neighborhood. That was Peace Stone. Peace Stone was part of El Rookin. No, I said people was claiming that I was a Peace Stone because of the neighborhood and the people I knew. That's what I said. I never said I was peace, man. My parents wouldn't let me go join no gang. They didn't even want me to join the army. But I just knew people, man. It's just people just because I knew them and where I lived, people just thought, just said, I must have been a L Rookin or Peace Stone. I always said I was more towards like the Black Panther Party. Them the people mostly I followed. But like I say, the Peace Stones is like fractions of the Black Panther Party. They studied under the Black Panthers Party, but they just branched off him and Larry Hoover. They formed their own thing. No, I couldn't afford to be man. I was too much scared of jail, man, and you know, was like that. And see, about like I say, and like I said before, probably where you guys get mixed up at by people thinking that I was part of the Peace Stones. There was some places I couldn't go because of that. Certain parts of this, city I couldn't go. Well, not the city, but the neighborhood I couldn't go because that's where the disciples was because they thought I was Peace Stone. But I never said I joined the gang or I was a straight Peace Stone. It's just people thought I was because of the people I knew and where I lived. See, that's how people get caught in crossfires and all that stuff because of where they live and the people who they know. So you could be an original Joe Smo, and you could be your best friend who you grew up with could be a gangbanger. Somebody can go after your friend, but get you. You're an innocent bystander. But that don't mean you're a gangbanger. You're just a person you grew up with, and that's your friend. That's who you know. That's how it is, man. That's how it is. And that's how it was with me. All my friends were Peace Stones, who I grew up with from kindergarten on up. Until today, some of them that's still alive. But I don't mean I was a Peace Stone. Them were just my friends. My childhood friends I grew up with since kindergarten. But believe you me, most of the kids who get unalive through gang violence, some of them are not gang affiliated. They just with their friends who they know. Innocent bystanders. The main target very seldom get hit. Man, I don't know what you're talking about. Man, what you writing, man? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I ain't even on that. I don't know who in the hell you talking about. I don't know who you talking about. Man, ask a question that pertains to what I'm talking about, man. So what you talking about, I don't know who in the hell you talking about. Or explain yourself who you talking about. Man, break them words down, bro. I ain't say I was no college professor. Shit. Shit. Break them words down, dog. I'm not no college professor, man. Break them words down for me, bro. Then I answer your question. My man coming here with these big ass words, man. Ain't no college professor, man. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So man, like I say, man, we have to learn to open our eyes, man, to a lot of things that are going on around us. We just gotta open our eyes. We gotta open our mind to the truth. But we can't keep continuing being comfortable with the lies that's being told. Oh, okay. All right, thanks, bro. Thanks for so let me see what your question is. Well, I think morality is the one thing you shouldn't sacrifice. Your morals is something that you should never sacrifice. See, that's one thing people try to sacrifice, make you sacrifice your morals. That's the first thing they try to get you to sacrifice. So if they get you to sacrifice your morals, then they can control you. Because you somehow sacrifice your morals, they per se can have, stuff on you. Whatever it is, they can bring it back on you, especially if they want to bring you down. So you should never sacrifice your morals. You should always stand up for your morals. You know, the system gonna have you sacrifice your morals because the system gonna want you to work like how they want you to work. Gonna want you to talk like they want you to talk. So it's worse when you sacrifice your morals than the other one, in my opinion. Did that answer your question? See, that's what they try to get you to do. Try to get you to sacrifice your morals. They tempt you with money. They tempt with your money. They find things with your weakness. Oh, you poor, this little money here, we'll give you this. We can get you to do what we want you to do. So here you go, Mike Russ. JJ. They think I'm college professor. They. Oh shit. Okay, thank you, man. Oh shit. Well, the question is, what should your morals be based on? Consequences or rules? Ah, your morals should be based on what's right. See, um, Devon. I don't know if you are, but I'm a spiritual person. No, I don't know, but I know. But I'm a spiritual person, so I basically go on my spiritual beliefs and uh and the morals that I carry. So if anything is against my belief or what I think is right, I stay away from. I stay away. That's how I judge, and that's how I try to run my life now. Did I always run my life like that? No. It took for me to learn. As you get older, you get wiser. So I had to learn that. I had to learn that. So if it's against my belief, my morals, or whatever you want to call it, I don't fuck with it. I don't engage with it. Not in real life I'm speaking of. I ain't talking about on YouTube or social media. Because everybody like to be entertained. I like to be entertained too. But real life, I don't, even here on YouTube. At home, at my home, I don't, spit out negativity or, change my morals on my at my home. I won't hate at my home. I want peace at my home. Now, if I want to go out and have fun, I leave home. But I still don't lose my morals. I still don't sell out my morals. I still stay true to who I am. But I can relax a little bit when I'm away from home. I can kick my heels up, go enjoy myself. Then when I go home, boom. Yep, that's how that works. Yeah, man, I'm telling you guys, we just have to open our eyes, just learn the history, man. It's so accessible today. And you'll be amazed once you learn stuff. You don't even have to go on the conspiracy shit that was, like who really killed Malcolm X. And, you really don't have to, that's not really important to me. To me, that's not really important to me. What's important to me is how stuff was set up to divide us, period. To make everything that's happening today happening. That's what I'm it's that's what I'm focused on. Why is things happening the way it is today? Why is it that black people can't get along today? Why is it that black people can't unite today? What is the reason? See, when you find out the reason of things, then you can come up with a solution. If you just like in algebra, if you didn't learn the steps to come up with the answer to the algebra problem, you won't get the answer. Exactly, JJ. That's why I decided to come to YouTube because I was doing it on Facebook. I was doing it on Facebook, JJ, but I wanted a bigger audience. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel everybody should know their history. See, because once you learn history, then you can understand why everything is happening the way it is. Now, we never. That's why I said some people had the ideology of Malcolm X and some had of Martin Luther King. It was a division. All of them didn't think alike. See, it's always been a division. Yeah, division was placed way back in 1712. All that shit was in place. But like I said before, because back then, before Willie Lynch came, they had a lot of African slave rebellious to the slave master. Slave master couldn't make no money because some of them, it was rebellious. So they had to find a way to control their slaves. Just like today, how you have a whole lot of black rebellious people. And they didn't know how to handle it. Yeah, that's what I said, Devon. That's what I said. Because if you remember I don't know if you saw Malcolm X. I mean, not Malcolm X, but Martin Luther King's last speech. His last speech was more on what was going on in the black community, what was really going on, the economic differences, and all that shit. See, Martin Luther King started speaking on that. See, that's what the government didn't want him to really speak on. They didn't pay him to speak on shit like that. They want him to keep speaking the I have a dream shit. So, but Martin Luther King went on, he learned, and then you get his eyes open. His eyes open. And soon his eyes open, next thing you know, he's unalive. JJ, history is history. You can't deny history. We wasn't slave owners in the United States. We wasn't slave owners. Who's the slave owners? Now, we can't deny history. Now, we can say, well, we can also say we can't use that as a crutch for not doing what we're supposed to do. See, a lot of people's using that as a crutch for not doing shit. It was planted in 1712 by Lynch, Willie Lynch, because the slave masters was losing money and they couldn't control the slaves. So Willie Lynch came. He, you know what? Martin Luther King was killed as soon as he started to focus more broadly capitalism act. Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. What's up, CX2? Exactly. See, he wasn't a puppet no more. See, at first they used him as a puppet. They used him as a puppet. So like I said before, you had people that was going to organize that march on Washington, more revolutionary type brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? But that scared the hell out of the government. And so that's when they called in the Big Six, civil rights leader preachers. And Martin Luther King was one of them. And they paid them, to tone the thing down. They still had them do the march, but they wanted them to do it because they can do it in a better, lighter tone. They didn't mind them doing this march. But shit, the revolutionary, they was planning on shutting shit down. They were gonna lose money. They were gonna lay down in the airport, lay down the runway, so planes wouldn't land. They was about to tear shit up. Put that goddamn drug up and cloud your mind. I don't know what you mean by that, JJ. Probably was. I'm telling the wrong history. No, I'm not telling the wrong history, JJ. I'm not telling the wrong history. I'm not telling the wrong history at all. You might think it's the wrong history, but it's not the wrong history. Where was it at, JJ? Was it in the United States? Was it in the United States, JJ? Because I agree with you. Slavery was going on all the way since the biblical time. So slavery just didn't start in the United States. So what history are you talking about? What history are you talking about? I know what history I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm talking about. Because everything I spoke, JJ, you can see it now. But who began it, JJ? Who began slavery, JJ? And a lot of them people bought slaves. Some of them people was family. I'm talking about black people. But who started slavery, JJ, in the United States? Was it black people? Because us as black people, we copy everything they did, basically. So who started slavery in the United States? Was it black people who started slavery? Now, if you want to tell the true history, yeah, black African kings did help the slave traders catch slaves. They even traded in slaves for wealth. If you want to tell the true history, let's speak true history. See, the problem is you work in that thing, but you still kind of blind to history, in my opinion. No disrespect. It's okay. It's okay. You know, we can say it was black people that was. I am being factual, JJ. What up? What up? What's up? What up, Clan? I am being factual. Who started the slave trade in America? I'm not talking about what happened afterwards. I didn't call you Brian. Who called you Brian? I didn't call you blind. Oh, okay. Shit. No, I just said your eyes were closed. You know, it's just not your professional. You know, sometimes, you know, we don't know everything. You know, we don't know, and we think we know everything, but we really don't. I'm not wrong, JJ. I'm not wrong. I'm not going to come out here and preach nothing wrong. I'm preaching on what I learned and what I know. Because if I'm saying things that are wrong, you can prove that I'm wrong. Everything I've spoke on, I played evidence how everything is happening the way it was planned. They're all lined up. And even if you just look, just take your mind off of what I'm saying or what you disagree, and just look at the pattern throughout the decades, and even now, it's the same thing. So how can I be wrong? And when was this, JJ? When was this? What year? What year, JJ? What year was this? They wasn't black. And Christopher Columbus was a thief. He was a criminal. So what you saying? That's why people stopped celebrating Columbus Day. Come on, JJ. Where? In America or overseas? In America or overseas, JJ? Over in America or overseas, JJ? Because you said 1600s. Now, when I spoke on the Willie Lynch, it's 1712. Uh, and America wasn't really founded till 1776. So, where is this at, JJ? True. Because you had black people over there in Italy, you had black people in Russia, you had black people, you got black people everywhere. I agree. But I'm just asking her, where were he a slave owner? Was he a slave owner in America? That's all I'm asking. Okay, Christopher Columbus wasn't really black, he was Latin or whatever, blah, 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 of course. But was the first black slave owners over here in America? In the beginning. That's all I'm asking. Now, it couldn't have been him because he was a slave owner in 1600. Okay, what was Willie Lynch a slave owner at? Where was Willie Lynch a slave owner at? He was a slave owner overseas in the West Indies. That's not the United States. It's too easy. Okay. What did you say so? You say so. So he lived 112 years, huh? Because you said it before the Willie Lynch. So he lived 112 years? You said he was a slave owner in 1600. Because if he was a slave owner over here, United States, they wouldn't have had, the slave owners then wouldn't have had the problem that they had, and they wouldn't have to use Willie Lynch. What was the purpose of Willie Lynch? Because you say, my man, he was a slave owner, so he should have known how to. I know that. That's when Willie Lynch was brought to America, to Virginia, to teach the slave owners how to treat the slaves. So if my man was a slave owner here in the United States, by him having slaves before, wouldn't he know how to treat the slaves? Willie Lynch knew how. So why did they need Willie Lynch to come? If he was a slave owner, he should have known how to control slaves. So he was the only one over there that knew how to control slaves. What was the purpose of Willie Lynch? Couldn't they just got him? And if he was a slave owner here in the United States, did he get the same treatment as the white slave owners? If there was true black slave owners, why did they still treat all black people like shit? No matter who you were. You could have been a free slave. You had to walk around with your papers. So you're a free slave. And that probably still didn't work. So if you had black slave owners back then, why did black people still have a hard time? No, you on the wrong side of history. Shit don't add up when you say you had black slave owners back then, especially the beginning of slavery. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. When slavery started in the United States, you did not have no slave owners. No the black slave owners. You didn't. And like I say, this was 1712. This is before the whole United States was built. It was just the Eastern colony. No, those was overseas. Those was they. Oh man, let me explain this again. They always got that one Negro to control the other slaves. They had that one Negro who they will make the slaves look up to that slave. Just like I used the example, that character Samuel Jackson played in Django. But they're not really slave owners. They don't get the total benefits of original slave owners. They used by the slave owners to keep the slaves in line. What's up, King Mill? No, I was just making an example. I was just making an example. I'm not using no fiction movie as just to, prove my point. I'm just using an example. It was like that. They had that one field Negro, house Negro to use to keep the slave Negroes in line, the field Negroes in line, to keep the other Negroes in line. That's what they used them for. Oh, really? Where? Because remember, the United States wasn't built fully, and it wasn't in the Eastern colony. So where was this at? Where was this at? Where was this at? Man, please tell me. In what state? What state he was a slave owner? Tell me that. What state was he a slave owner? You tell me what state he was a slave owner, we could it'll debunk all that shit you're saying. Oh, now I'm ignorant. Well, I just asked you a question. What state was he a slave owner? You can't answer that question. I just asked you a question. If you answer the question, I can look it up and I say, oh, JJU was right. This ain't about me telling you stuff and you don't look it up. Maybe you're right. But if you're right, I'm gonna ask you, what state was he a slave owner? You said 1600s before Willie Lynch. Because I sworn Christopher Columbus came way after, supposed to discover America way after 1600. Oh, shit. I know, King Mill. I know, King Mill. I see. I know. That's why I asked, what state was he a slave owner? What state was he a slave owner? I don't understand that. What state was he a slave owner? That's all I want to know. It ain't that I'm arguing or whatever. If you say something, prove your point. Especially something like that, because it don't make no sense to me. America is supposed to have been founded in the 1700s. So how could that man be a slave owner in 1600 in the United States? The United States wasn't even built. Not in the United States. There's always been slavery. Even through biblical time, there's always been slavery. See, slavery back in biblical time and slavery in the United States is two different things, basically, almost. What's up, trainer? What we doing? Yeah. I agree, King Mill. See, it's kind of different. See, slavery in the United States was more economic than anything. They used backs of slaves to build this whole country because they wanted to take over this country. So they built this country off the back of slaves. Yeah, because King Mills, it couldn't been in the beginning. Because there wasn't no black slave owners, not in the United States. Like, he could have been over there and across seas, because that's where Willie Lynch came from. See, people have to understand these was outlaws that came here to America. These was outlaws. You wasn't no ordinary folks that came here to America, so-called discovered America. That's why they stole everything. No, I'm not doing that, JJ. I just asked you a question, and you know, I'll ask you what state, where was he at when he I just asked you to clarify. I'm not trying to argue. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just asking. You know, exchange information. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe you might be wrong in some spots. Hey, that's what conversation is all about. Just because we don't agree, that don't mean we got to go at each other. We just have civil adult conversation. That's all. I'm not trying to down you because you probably don't think like I do or whatever. No, we both got we two grown people with two different opinions. That's all. I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping. Because if we all was the same, we all thought it like, hey. Oh wow, JJ, do we have to get like that? Really? Wow. Now I know we can type more adult than that. We don't have to bring the N word in it, and we ain't got to do all that, JJ. We ain't got to do all. Okay, we ain't got to do all that. We ain't got to do all that. We just agree to disagree. That's all. We ain't got to do all that. Like I say, JJ, we don't do that on my page. We have adult conversation. We don't have to put each other down because one of us don't agree with one another. We don't have to do that. Well, if I ain't understand, it's okay. But still, that don't mean for us to put each other down. I just didn't understand your answer. What's up, Value City? That's all. We don't have to put each other down. We don't have to do that. King Mills, you stupid. I would do that, JJ. I would do that, JJ. But even the thing of it is, JJ, if it was black slave owners or not, the vision was still planted within us. To control the slaves. No matter who was slave owners or who wasn't slave owners, who began slave trade or what, no matter what, division was put amongst the slaves. No matter what. Fuck it. That argument is senseless to me. Because whoever was a slave, you had to put division within the slaves to control them. Just like today, it don't matter if you white or black. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. No, I didn't bring up your profession. I just said some people in a hierarchy like you probably wouldn't understand truth. I didn't say you personally. I just said people. Some people as hierarchy as you. That's all I said. You took it personal like that. What's up, Takeover Soldier Boy? But it don't matter who started it. For them to control their slaves, they had to input division. No, JJ. It like I say, it don't matter if black people, you had black slave owners or what. It doesn't matter. That argument doesn't matter. The thing of it is, the vision was placed between the slaves to control them, and they still use that method today, black or white. You proving the point that it's not all about race, because you got evil black people, you got good black people, you got evil white people, you got good white people. That's proving the case when I say race is a crutch that black people use, because you got good people around in all races. I'm not blaming everything on white people. That's what I'm saying. You twisted my words. I said black people use that as a crutch to not succeed in life, which is not about race. Stop twisting my words, JJ. I said people use that as a crutch. You never heard me once blame white people for everything. See, when I said slave owners, you assumed I said all white. I meant all white. I said slave owners used to pick out a main black slave to control his slaves. What's up, Mike? You put white in there. I never did. I never blamed white people. I just said the slave owners planted that seed to divide the slaves to control them. And I also said the problem with black people today, we use racism as a crutch. Black people use blaming the white man as a crutch. All you got to do is go get it. You will have whatever you want. Don't use them as a crutch. You brought in white man. Because I said it's good white people, bad white people. Good black people, bad black people. You bringing up the race. You bringing up the race. That's what I'm saying. Every time somebody speaks on true history, people always got to bring race into it. It's not about race. It's about good and evil. Either you good or you evil. And you proving my point. You had black slave owners. It don't matter what color you are. You still can be evil. That's why I said, see, you proved my point, JJ. You proved my point exactly. And you don't even know it. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, JJ. It's not about race. It's about good and evil, right or wrong. You proved my point exactly, JJ. Thank you. I appreciate you. That's why I made you a mod. Hmm. That's how it ain't about race, y'all. So we need to stop talking about the white man this, the white man that. Nah, that's a crutch, man. Go get that shit. It's easy to go get. All you gotta do is get off your ass and go get it. Well, I never took black people out of the equation of um, causing the harm in there. You know what I'm saying? You never heard me put it all on white slave masters or white people. You never heard me say that. You always heard me say they always got that one particular Negro or black person to control the slave. So he's part of the problem too. He's part of the problem too. So I never always put all the blame on the white slave owner or whatever, or the white man, as you might say. I never did. So you steady want to argue me about that. No matter what the answer is or what the right information is, it's still about good and evil. So that just shows you that all white, it just ain't white people that's evil. And that's the narrative of what black people went by. That's why black people don't want to become Republicans. Because they feel that was an all-white party and they was presidents. See how that works? No, but I'm saying King Mill, that's what they think of the party. Like now, the Democrats, they want you to believe that all the people in the Republican Party is racist. And if you vote Republican, then you're a sellout. Exactly, Calvin. And when they brought the slaves over here to America, it was to build America. It was about money. Okay, so what is it now? What is it now? Since we've been vote Democrat, have the Democrats done anything for black people?
Have any political party done anything for black people generally without having a motive for doing it? And so you probably missing some things that I say then, JJ, if that's happening. Because I'm not blaming all white people. And my argument is not that it's all white people and it's racism and blame the white man and all that shit because of our downfalls. Teaching all this is not to blame anybody. It's to wake people up how evil is trying to set you up to not prosper. How some people will set you up to not to prosper. And that shit went on through decades. They find different ways. And like I said, some of them look just like you. It ain't all white. That's why we got a lot of jealousy and envy in our community. We have people like that who don't want to see you succeed. But we programmed to blame the white man. That's how we program. So it don't matter if you slave owner, what color they was, or whatever, man. They planted division. They had to plant division in their slaves to control. Exactly. It's Calvin. It's all about good and evil, man. Because like I say, we have our own people turning against their own people. Oh yeah, that's all good. I agree with that. I agree with that, JJ. Because I said, JJ, slavery been going on since biblical times. Slavery been going on through biblical times, since biblical times. There's always been slavery. You know, when they came to America, it's just like, most of these people who came to America were outlaws. They really didn't know how to run the drug trade. They didn't really know how to control the slaves. You might have one or two, you might have a few, but the majority didn't know how. So they was losing a lot of money. So they had to learn, some of them had to learn the way to control their slaves where they could keep making their money. So I'm not denying there wasn't no black slaves back then. It probably was. But they were still slave owners. Division. JJ. Division. Division. There's too much division, and if that division be closed, in my personal opinion, I don't think so. Because we've been divided so long. Now we can probably reach one, open one person's eyes, but in total mass, no, I don't think that'll happen in our lifetime. You know? Yeah, like you say, JJ, it's a lot of us, we depend. We too dependent. We're not independent. We dependent. There's too many people like that. What's causing division is ourselves. We causing our own division. So we easily be strayed away. We are our own worst enemy. Exactly, Calvin. Division always existed. That's why God had to kick them angels out of heaven, because disobeyed God's word. I'm getting into. I'm gonna have a live on that too. See, division didn't just start in America with slavery. That's why I say it would never, people would never totally come together, because division always been in play. God had to kick the angels out of heaven because they didn't want to obey his word. No, JJ, no. I just didn't go into that topic. I wasn't going into the political topic. Maybe I should have did that first. I will, JJ. Maybe I should have covered, like JJ, I'm still learning. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning. Don't get to a point where I can get people on the panel and all that stuff. But like I say, maybe I should have brought that point. Maybe I could have made things more clear if I would have started there. That's a good point, JJ. Then maybe everything that I'm saying now be more clear. Because I guess, by me starting like in slavery, like I'm saying, the division started there. And that's not true. Maybe I should have started with there. Then maybe everything would have lined up. Then it wouldn't seem that I was just talking about slavery time. You're right. That's a lesson learned, though, JJ. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, JJ. That's good advice. You stupid, Calvin. Yeah, I appreciate that, JJ. I ain't a bad person, JJ. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how this YouTube thing is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. I should have went back. I should have started from the beginning, JJ. I should have started from the beginning. You know, I should have started from the beginning. Then everything would have been much understood. So that was my fault on that. That was my fault on that. Yeah, we allow everything, but we want to blame other people. You know, we allow shit to happen, but we want to blame other people. That's how we are. Instead of taking accountability for the shit we do. I know, JJ. I'm learning. You know, like I said, I should have started. I should have started from the beginning. I should have started from the beginning because I had thought about it. You know, I didn't want to, just start off straight with the religion part of it. But as I look back on it, I see I should have because that's where all the division and stuff really started. You know, because that would explain more of why people of the same kind are divided because it all basically always been like that because it started back in the time with God and the angels, holy angels. So yeah, 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 yep. So we as black people or black men, we have a lot to learn. Yeah, yeah. They exploit us. Could we easily to follow whatever idol they put in front of us. You know, they use these celebrities to influence us. You know, they brought all this gangster rap and all this stuff. When I was coming up, we was listening to, rap, hip hop. Hip hop you can dance to like Heavy D and all them guys. Then we had like groups like Public Enemy who taught righteousness, conscious rap. But that shit was too powerful. That shit was too powerful. They'd rather see us, unaliving each other. So they had to put that in our face, make us think that's the norm. And they exploited the rappers who was promoting that shit. And they didn't even know. They was long as they was making money, they didn't care. Yeah, we have to learn to stop exploiting ourselves and stop letting them exploit us. That's why all we can do is think about ourselves. We can't worry about nobody else. All comes down to that. Yep. Yeah. And that's what they want us to see, JJ. There's that's what they want to see. They want the youngsters to see this. They want them to emulate that shit. Cause you gotta understand, JJ, the prison system is a big business. The prison system is a big business. A lot of money. I got you, Wayne. I'll see them in a second. We'll finish this up in a minute. I figured they'd be on around this time. Shit, I got shit. Like I say, I ain't expect to be on here this long. Me and JJ having a conversation, shit, time flies. But I like that though. That's civil adult conversation, man. That's what adults do, man. That's what adults do, man. That's what adults do, man. You conversate. Yeah. Because JJ, I don't understand. See, this is what kills me. Because some of our young brothers going to prison is a badge of honor. I don't understand that at all. How is going to prison a badge of honor? You big shit if you've been to prison. If you go to college, graduate out of college, and get you a good job, they'll look up more to the guy who's been to prison than the guy who's been through college and became successful. Yeah. And like I say, Jay, that's in real life. That's in real life. They'll praise a guy who's been to prison. It's a big badge of honor. But a guy who get his education and make a good self and man, they talk about him like a dog, sell out. Oh, you think you better than everybody. Yo, you can see. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. All that shit going on in real life. It's like that in real life. And we can see just by example, even though you tell people the truth, they're not gonna change. You're not gonna change. That's just the mindset of these people these days. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. And JJ, some women has a play in that too. Cause for a moment in time, especially with the drug thing was going on, if you wasn't a dope dealer or whatever, you didn't have money like that, a woman wouldn't mess with you. They mess with dope dealers. Not my generation, but I'm talking about the generation under mine when the drug thing was really going. If you worked at McDonald's, ain't no way in hell you was getting a girl. Even though you worked and made money. Or you went to work every day. You could have worked at Walgreens, Walmart. Just had a job. It wasn't satisfied to some girls. Because they wanted that big drug dealer who was showering them down with money and pearls. That's how it was. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it either. See, that's why I like female rappers like old school rise, like Queen Latifah, MC Light. Those are my favorite female rappers because they wasn't slutty, but they was cold. It was cold on the mic. You know what I'm saying? So I respected those female rappers. These female rappers of the day, all that twerking and half naked on the stage. Don't get me wrong, I'm a man. But, to me, that's unnecessary. That's unnecessary to me. You shouldn't have to be naked, you know, and all. I never was into that, JJ. Nah. If I want to see all that, I go to a strip club. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because kids are easy to be influenced. Kids are easy to be influenced. And they put that in front of them, and that's what they see, and they think that's cool. Like you can look at some of these TikTok things, man, and you see these people have their kids like twerking, like they grown women. They be twerking, little kids, 3 years old. Oh, that's so cute. So yeah, exploitation. Yeah, we go by what we see. That's for real. Yeah, yeah. But they want us black people to stay with the Democratic Party. They say if we voted Republican, then we sellouts. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But what was that thing they just took out? Was that DEI? Wherever it is. But that was put in place for black people, black men at first, and then they added all these other different fractions in it. And black men are the last to benefit. Was the benefit from DEI? They even had homosexuals in front of black men. So if you was a black man and say you was a homosexual, then you have more rights per se than a regular black man. But you still black, but you just a homosexual. That's discrimination to me. JJ, the thing about homosexuality, see, God didn't hate the people who practice homosexuality. Simon and Gomorrah, he did not hate them. He hated their sins that they was committed. He still had love for the homosexual. He just hoped before their time that they repent and gave this love to him. Yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. They took all that from us. Civil rights, all that shit. But we still last on the totem pole. Black men. Black men would never be respected. Black men would never be respected because some of us don't respect ourselves. First of all, until we respect ourselves, they will respect us. As long as we keep disrespecting ourselves, they're going to disrespect us. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Yeah, he told him that, JJ, but he didn't hate him. He still had love for them, but he just didn't like their sins. But he gave people time to repent. Now, beginning, God was a vengeful God. Because if you didn't obey his commandments or obey his laws, he will, punish you. Because the last punishment he did that was with Noah when he had him build the ark. Then see after that, then when Jesus came, Jesus sacrificed himself. Because he knew God would destroy anything that went against his word. Anybody that went against his word. But Jesus sacrificed himself. You know, because he knew as long as you in this world that you're going to sin. You're going to commit some type of sin. So he sacrificed himself for others. You know, all that God asks now for you to repent. No, he don't like homosexual. No. If you continue to practice that, you would end up in the kingdom of fire. Well, JJ, he knew that people was going to be like they are now. So what he did was give people. He sacrificed himself to hopefully people would change. You know, he's hoping that people would change. You know, who would turn their life to God, who would follow God's word. So he was hoping that they would change. Like you say, a lot of them don't. No. You can't call yourself repenting and continue sinning. Not committing the same sin. Because you can repent, but the thing about it, JJ, you're going to commit some type of sin. I don't care who you are, even though you do repent. You're going to commit some type of sin. You're not going to go through your life sinless. You might not do the crazy ass sins or, you know, whatever. Hold on. You know, I got something for you, JJ. I got something for you, JJ. Okay. Now, JJ. See, I speak a lot about a person's inner spirit. And you know, spirit of God and all that stuff. See, God, these are 9 things that your spirit should be full of. If you call yourself a religious person or you follow in the path of God. Okay, 1 is love. Now, this is the fruits of the spirit. 1 is love. 2 is joy. 3 is peace. 4 is patience. 5 is kindness. 6 is goodness. 7 is faithfulness. 8 is gentleness. And 9 is self-control. That's the fruits of the spirits of God. If you got that in your spirit, see, a lot of people don't have peace within themselves. A lot of people don't have love within themselves. Some people are not happy with themselves, so they don't have the joy. A lot of people don't have patience. People don't have kindness. A lot of people don't have kindness in their heart. So whatever in your heart, that's your spirit. Some people don't have goodness in their heart. Some people's not faithful. All that's got to be within you. As long as you got that within you. You can't go around mistreating people and call yourself a church person or think you go into the kingdom of God. You can't always spit out hate and think you go into the kingdom of God. You can't do that. So as long as you have that in your heart, in your spirit, living on this earth, you're going to commit some type of sin. But it's not going to be the type of sin that, that's crazy. You're going to do something. You might be driving down the street. Somebody might cut in front of you. You might want to cuss them out. That's not right. That's a sin. That's not right. But you're not going to be condemned for it, You just say, excuse me, Lord. It happens. It happens. But you have to have those things within you. If you don't have none of them things within you, then you can't call yourself a Christian person or a religious person. All right, people. I've been on this thing almost 4 hours, man. Think I put my time in. Yeah. That's why, JJ, I could, I take so much. I take so much. If I'm in the mood, I stick around. If not, I don't let it stop me from doing what I have to do. I still keep my mind focused on, serious issues and serious stuff. I live in a real lifetime. Yeah, it gets tiresome, JJ, because when I first came, JJ, it wasn't like this. Yeah. But JJ, that brings out people's color. As people continue to talk, it brings out their colors. See, that's why I kind of, and I'm not, that's why I like people to know who I am. That's why I made my own page. I want people to know who I am. I don't want nobody, affiliate myself with nobody thinking I'm like this person. Like I said, I've been going through that all my life. But that don't mean I'm not cool with the person I'm trying to separate from. I'm just letting you know I'm my own person. So whatever this person do, don't tie me out like I'm that person. Cause I'm my own man. Yep. Well, let me get off here, y'all. Thanks, JJ. Everybody else, Shotty Yachty, Calvin, Brian, everybody else that came through. I can't think of everybody who came through. But I appreciate you guys, man. You guys have a good day. God bless. Ah.